This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're watching ScienceFiction.com.
So this is Jordan with ScienceFiction.com, and we're here live at Wizard World Philadelphia 2015 with the man, the legend, the Batman, Kevin Conroy.
Hey, how are you? Good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Kevin. So Kevin, did you ever think that after 20 years you'd still be voicing Batman?
Well, you never think that after, the first episode, you never know if a show's going to go on.
Yeah.
But, and in 92 when we started recording Batman the Animated Series, it was all new, No one had done a show painted on black before. No one had put that much money into a show before with a full symphony score. So there was a lot of variables. We didn't have any idea what was going to happen. I didn't even really know actually what it was going to look like. I remember the first time that Mark Hamill and I went in to do ADR for the first few episodes. We'd been recording for about 6 months, and then they came back from the animators and needed to be synced up. And so it was the first time I actually saw footage, and it just blew both of us out of the room. I said, Mark, did you have a clue this is what we were doing, So no one knew at the beginning, except Bruce Timm, what it was going to end up looking like. And then to have it evolve into Batman and Robin, and then the Justice League, and then Batman Beyond, and now the Arkham series of games. I mean, it's just been such a legacy of work, and to work on. It's been such a privilege.
Did you ever imagine that your take would be specifically, it's probably the easily most iconic take on the character?
That was just a lucky actor's choice on the day of the audition. I was just improvising in a studio at Warner Brothers as they told me the background of the character. Orphaned as a child, both his parents gunned down in the street, raised by the butler, lives in a cave, brooding, avenging their deaths, and so I just got myself into the darkest, broodiest, most kind of haunted place I could find, and I came up with this sound. And they said, "That's it, that's it, that's it." And then when I realized he puts on this cape and cowl, and no one in Arkham, no one in Gotham knows who it is, even though he's the richest guy in the city. I said, "That's just not believable.
Yeah.
Would you let me do something closer to my own voice for Bruce Wayne?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, well, we can try that." And that's where the idea of 2 different voices came up, which just worked so well for the character.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that. Later on in the series, as it became New Batman Adventures, I noticed that the voice sort of dropped off and became the Batman voice all the time.
Well, it's not the Batman voice all the time, but it's just a much subtler difference.
Yeah.
They went for a much darker tone on the show over time.
Yeah.
And the lighter Bruce Wayne that I had done earlier on, you get a good taste of him in like the movie Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
There's a real lightness to Bruce Wayne. He's joking around with his girlfriend and stuff. That was lost over time because they just wanted to go for a much darker palette.
Yeah.
So it was intentionally toned down.
I know you did recently. You just worked on Arkham Knight for the game series. What's the experience like working between the TV show versus the video games recently?
It couldn't be more different. When you're doing a TV show, you're in a studio with 6 or 7 other actors, and it's like doing a radio play.
Yeah.
So it's like playing ball. You throw the energy to the other actor, he throws it back to you. You're fed by the people around you. The better they are, the better you are. So you give and take. When you're in a game, because of the way games are built, it has to be completely isolated. So you're alone in a booth for 4-hour chunks of time, and then you get an hour off, and then it's another 4-hour chunk. So they're 8-hour days with just you alone. And so you've got to keep the character real, got to keep the energy up, got to keep the situation alive, all feeding yourself, just using your own imagination. So it's completely exhausting. And it's not nearly as much fun for the actor. It's a really hard job. But then when you see the results, it's just so extraordinary. You're so proud to be a part of it, you know what I mean? But the process of making them, I have to admit, is not fun.
So with all the roles of Batman you played between the animated series and then you did Batman Beyond, Justice League, and then the Arkham games now, and even some of the other movies that they did, what would you say is your favorite Batman-related project you've worked on?
I think I keep going back to the original series, Batman the Animated Series, because it was just so iconic.
Yeah.
And it was so beautifully conceived. The great writers, great artists, full symphony score. It was such a unique thing to be a part of. And I still think that Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie
Oh,
of
hands down.
all the Batman movies, live action or animation.
No question.
It's
Yeah,
a great movie.
it's perfect. And though, with all your time as Batman, how has that affected your life now? Like, have you had any favorite fan moments that you've experienced?
Well, I live in New York, so, New Yorkers tend to be very outspoken.
Of course.
So, I mean, people will actually, cab drivers will yell out of their cabs, "Hey, Batman!" I get a lot of that.
I can imagine.
So I get some funny situations.
Yeah. And of course, is it true that you'll be making an appearance in Kevin Smith's upcoming film Yoga Hosers?
I am.
Can you tell us a bit about it?
It's just a little bit, but it's a nice little bit. Kevin is a huge Batman fan. I did an episode of his podcast, Batman on Fat Man.
Yeah.
That is very popular, and so he wanted to work together. And he's such a creative. He's intellectually so alive. I've done panels with him where you have to kind of tell him to shut up so you can get a word in edgeways, because he's so overflowing with energy
Yeah.
and with ideas that it's really fun to work with him. I hope to work with him more. He's great.
Of course. I mean, he named his child after who actually stars
Harley.
in the movie.
I
Harley.
know.
The character from your
I
show.
know. I know.
It's pretty great. Obviously, you're a fan of the character now after being in the show. Were you a fan of Batman before you actually took the role?
I was a big fan of the Adam West series when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So working with him when he did The Grey Ghost
Yeah.
on Batman
Which is-
was such a privilege to
Great
work with him.
episode, yeah.
Great episode, and a great guy. He's really a classy guy. I loved working with him.
Sorry, one more final question for you. Do you have any favorite Batman stories from the comics now that would you say are your favorites that stand out?
I would love them to do a movie of The Killing Joke.
Killing Joke?
That would be great.
And you'd voice it?
Of course I'd voice it. That would be great.